So do you play sports at all?
Yeah, I
What do
play
you
softball,
Is
volleyball.
there an almond joy?
And she's a skateboarder too. So that's a sport.
He's hiding one.
These are what I hide right here.
You have
Your
volleyball
almond
meet
joy is missing.
tomorrow?
There was a mint.
No, I'm not playing this
'Cause I
year,
was hoping
but I
you
have
could know
been
all
all
the
until
time.
this season, yeah.
Gotcha.
But I they do, I think.
Did you do that?
No, I don't like almond joy.
No.
Come on, can I?
They had one last night.
They don't know
And they
you
went
have
in
floor
style.
staff.
Because it was all
Yeah,
like- Well, I just put them in there just hoping that, you
The
know.
meeting with the athletic
You know
director.
why she wanted to do that?
I want to see
today.
Ed Conference.
Yeah.
I want to see if, like, if I take you, you know, like one of the best two out of here, then maybe they'll put them back in, like, man, here.
That's great.
Well, whatever.
Really like to go through things from this tonight. That's the passport. I'll put my name on it, but that's about as far as I'll get. I guess it
I
depends.
bet you.
Not my thing.
Betty just left.
Okay.
But turn it.
Hi, everyone. Glad that you're with us this evening. If you would, join me in pledging allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I was told I was supposed to do that. Thank you, Diane. All right, there's some communications. I have a speech I want to share with you. As you know, I am the vice president of the school board, and I don't get to do this too often, so I'm going to really enjoy some of this luxury that the president has. And one of the president's luxuries is reading this to you. So enjoy. The board appreciates hearing from parents, staff, and district residents. At our regular board meetings, the board of directors provide an opportunity for communications from parents, staff, and district residents. This time is reserved during our working meeting for the board to listen to comments, input, and information. The board does not respond to comments provided as a goal is to listen, as our goal is to listen and to learn from what has been said. As appropriate, the board would ask the superintendent and her staff to look into any issues that may be raised. Please note that it's important for all community members to feel welcome and safe during the board's business meeting. During the public comment period, please refrain from positive or negative expressions such as clapping or booing in response to a person who is providing public comments. If any audience member has any concerns about how they are being treated by another attendee, please contact the cabinet member to report the issue. The board does not take public comments on issues related to personnel or individually named staff members at this board meeting. However, you can email the board with any such comments. Guidelines for addressing the board. Please use the provided form to sign in with your name, address, and topics on which you would like to speak. Hopefully you've done that because we have the sheet here now, right? When the board president calls your name, please come to the podium here up front. You will have 2 minutes to address the board. There'll be a stoplight on the screen, as you can see here, and let you know when you can begin and when you have a minute remaining. At the end of your time, I would ask that you stop if you still has more to say. Okay, if there are multiple people speaking on the same topic, please focus your comments on the aspect of the topic that has not been addressed yet. Is that everything? All right, so we would like to get on to the agenda. We've been called to order. We pledged allegiance. Now we'd like to know if there's communications from parents, staff, and district residents. Right, okay. So this is where you can come up to the podium and I call them out here. Okay, I'm gonna call your name out. You can come to the podium. I'll tell you up front though, you may see us looking down or may not be making eye contact. That's not out of disrespect. We're taking notes. some of us, not me, but some of us older than other people, and they just can't keep. So, and they just can't keep things up here, so we have to write it down. Okay, and if I say your name wrong, please correct me. I don't want to disrespect you, so when you come up to the podium, please correct me if I say your name incorrectly, which I'm going to start right now with Joe Asing. Ansing. Sorry, Joe. I was trying so hard.
What is it?
Onsen.
Onsen.
Thank you, Joe.
No problem. Okay. Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to share my opinion on the potential policy that would ban pride flags in the classroom. My name is Joe Onsing. I'm proud to be an English teacher at Southridge High School. And I would like to share my perspective as a classroom teacher who would be affected by this policy. I have a pride flag proudly displayed in my classroom. I know there have been many others who have stood before you and explained the importance of the pride flag, and so you may have heard this already, but it's important you hear it again, please. The pride flag hangs in my classroom as a symbol for the acceptance that the students will find there. The pride flag carries the message that my classroom is a place for students to find tolerance and a place where they are valued for who they are. I didn't always have a pride flag in my classroom. We need to know why it's there now. In trying to analyze or really understand something, always consider how it began. Ask, how did it start? The fancy word for this, if you want to write it down, is exigence. I can spell it later. And it means what caused this thing to be and what came first. So what did come first? The pride flag did not come first. The bullying of and hatred towards our LGBT students did. Parents send their children to our school, to my classroom, and those kids encounter hatred, prejudice, bullying, and are made to feel like they don't belong. The pride flag in my room is a reminder to all students that they do belong, that we want them there as they are, and we want them there as who they are. The pride flag in the classroom also means that kids can be seen and supported when there might be nowhere else for them in their lives. A student may not have someone at home, in their family, or elsewhere in the community to talk to. If a student has nowhere else, a teacher with a pride flag in the classroom is a message that the student has someone they can go to for support. The pride flag in itself is a simple thing, but the weight it carries as a symbol to our LGBT students is paramount. This flag means something to our students in a way that no other symbol does. Seeing it in the classroom represents the acceptance they will find there, and there's something they can come to. I hope you'll take to heart what we share with you about the importance of the pride flag in the classroom. You'll reconsider your work to enact such a misguided and prejudiced policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next is Jonathan Hanson.
As a former student and a future parent, I knew I had to come when I heard the possibility of a ban on display of flags that reflect controversial issues, because one such flag is dear to my heart. It's a flag that's colors represent brave Americans that have fought for our freedom since before 1776. It's flown around the world at embassies and marches as a symbol of love and hope. Sure, it's always been seen as political and controversial, both within America and around the world, but most who love it know it as a symbol of freedom, the freedom to be who God made you without fear. I speak of this flag, the American flag, a flag near to my heart. This isn't some rhetorical trick. Every word I said also applies to the pride flag. They may not mean much to you, just a distraction. But if that's true, congratulations, good for you, honestly. I wish I didn't need it. I wish I'd never been taught shame. Me and other queer folks like me talk about pride for the same reason that Jews like me talk about being chosen. Not because we believe we're better than anyone, but because we need to remind one another that we're not less than, no matter what the world would have us believe. All children of God deserve to know they are loved, valid, and free to live in accordance with their deepest beliefs. After all, isn't that why our forefathers came to this country? Why so many people, including queer folk, fought and died for this flag, even when the country it represented didn't give them equal rights. If you want to take down controversial, political, and potentially distracting flags, you'll have to start with those. Otherwise, you're just telling us that we need to go back into the closet. Because you can't teach queer kids not to be queer any more than you can teach straight kids not to be straight. but you can teach them that this flag doesn't represent them. And that's a lie that's controversial, political, distracting, and I believe has no place in our schools. God bless, and thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate it. Next on our list is Ms. Tina Gregory. Did I say that right, Tina? You did. All right.
It all started with, you can't teach the Bible at school. You can't pray at school. You can't let children know you're a Christian at school. It's offensive to some. 2 + 2 really don't equal 4. Right or wrong is a gray area. It's natural for a child to identify as a cat, and we need to teach your children about their sexuality. Well, we the people say enough is enough. It's time we stop the teacher unions and grooming agencies. Gender equality, CRT, BLM lies, divide and hurt our children. All children are beautiful and wonderfully made. Please continue to stand against any forced experimental drugs on our precious children. CDC are not lawmakers. They push these things so there isn't any liability on drug manufacturers. We already have 73 pushed on our children before they are 18. It would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were cast into the sea than that he would cause one of these little ones to sin. What is sin? It is anything that separates us from our Lord. Who is our Lord? We all have different ideas of this. We all think differently on what is right and what is wrong. I declare the truth over the lives of the people battling the battle of identity. They are beautifully and wonderfully made. Their Creator knew them before they were formed in the womb. I want to dispel the confusion of the lies of the enemy that bounds them in confusion and perversion. I declare the identity of God over their lives. He didn't make a mistake when he created them. They were born for a purpose. Oh, what a miracle. Isn't it obvious? Every child is precious. We can't allow confusion and grooming. Separation of church? The church of identity deception has no space inside our schools. I'm asking that all pronouns, indoctrinations, and all flags be banned except our American and state flag. If we're not allowed to lead children to hope, then we shouldn't be allowed to lead them into lies. And I want to talk about a symbol for Christians. If we're going to have this gay pride thing in there, what about atheists? What about different things? We're going to have our rooms filled with flags. And last time when I spoke, I got hackled the whole time. And in the parking lot, I got chewed out and yelled at by people.
Tina.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Next, we're going to have Sheila Dunley. I didn't do good, did I, Sheila? I can tell. Is it Dunlop?
It's Dunlop.
I should know. I
I'm
apologize.
sorry. I'm still at the tail end of COVID. Okay.
Okay.
My name is Dr. Sheila Dunlop. I have been a community physician in the Tri-Cities for the last 33 years. I'm the founding director of Trios Family Medicine Residency. It's been my pleasure and my honor to treat many of the patients here in the Tri-Cities, Kennewick, Pasco, and Richland. I was one of 3 physicians who treated patients in the horrible days of AIDS and HIV. I was one of only 3 that would actually see these patients. I made house calls to young men who died as I was seeing them. It is so important that people understand that they are accepted. It's not one cookie cutter size fits all. Each of us is different, and for the one kid who sees a pride flag, a pride symbol, who is able to talk to a teacher about issues they may be having, that is a life saved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Nikki Berry. Nikki, did I get it right?
You did.
Very good.
Yes. I think it's important for you to consider the fact that gay teenagers attempt suicide 4 times greater than their straight peers. And I think that anything that you can do, they also are 50% 50% more likely to contemplate suicide. So anything you can do to make them welcome, feel included in the classroom, make them feel safe, not only physically safe, but mentally safe, that is the best avenue for those kids to grow up and into a profession that the school is trying to teach them to do.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Mickey. Lisa Papard.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I know that for most of you, the first time that you ever saw me was when I spoke at the last meeting. But the only person seated on this panel that has been attending board meetings longer than I have is Mr. Mabry. I used to attend regularly, an anomaly, often the only community member, to the point where administrators and board members alike would approach me and ask me why I was coming to the meetings. My answer was always that I wanted to know what was going on, that I cared, and I do still care very much. We all stopped coming to the meetings when the pandemic started, and I greatly appreciated your efforts to broadcast the meetings and record them for later viewing. I have watched most of the meetings from these past couple of years, thankful to be able to do so from the comfort of my home. I could take all week to watch a 4-hour board meeting. Even though I rarely saw a commenter whose views matched mine, I was glad to see so many people attending and speaking up. Years ago, occasionally a topic would bring out commenters. It's been surprising to me to see people coming back week after week to comment. I want to acknowledge you all for respectfully listening to comments, whether you agree or disagree with them. When my child and I spoke at that meeting, one thing I wanted to instill in them was their duty to respectfully listen, as they would hope to be respectfully listened to. But that does not mean that we have to idly sit by while others speak hate and intolerance into this room. So as long as a certain member of this community continues to come here and speak hate in the name of God, I am going to come here and speak love into this room. I love my children, I love your children, and if there's anyone listening to this who needs a safe adult, I am not hard to find. And to those who say that there are kids who are uncomfortable seeing a pride flag in the classroom, I would love to know where those kids learned that a rainbow flag could be any kind of threat to them. I'm not comfortable here, but I hope that as the weeks pass, my voice will match the resonance of my conviction. And everyone who can, please vote.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you, Lisa. Jason Goodman.
Yeah. Hello, Jason Goodwin, resident since '78, Bethlehem Lutheran, Park Middle School, and Kennewick High. So I have the data here from the CDC from last Wednesday. In fact, they updated it today, but it actually adds to my point. Total deaths were since January 1st, 2020 to October of this month, 2022. 1,006,506 for 0 to 17 years of age, 1,314. So 1,314. What's that come out to? Comes out to that right there, 0.1%. That's who we're dealing with of kids who are dying from COVID. So last week, CDC advisory panel voted, right? So COVID-19 shots should be added to the 2023 childhood and adult vaccination schedules, according to the panel of U.S. health advisors. U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices voted 15-0 on Thursday to recommend COVID-19 shots from Moderna, Pfizer, and Novavax. 15-0, kind of interesting, isn't it? When I just told you that 0.1% from their data, right? And they got more. So why? Well, I'll just wrap it up right here. This is what Robert Kennedy Jr. said last week. They are never going to market a vaccine, allow people access to a vaccine, an approved vaccine without getting liability protection. Now, the emergency use authorization vaccines have liability protection under the PrEP Act and under the CARES Act. So as long as you take an emergency use vaccine, you can't sue them. Once they get approved, you now can sue them, unless they can get it recommended for children. Because all vaccines that are officially recommended for children get liability protection. even if adult gets the vaccine. That's why they're going after your kids. They know it's going to kill and injure a huge number of children, but they need to do it for liability protection. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jason. All right, next on the list is Jeannie Poland. Oh, no, Jeannie. I'm gonna get everybody else right, Jeannie.
That was the last one.
That's it. Poland.
Jeannie Poling.
That's what I said. That's what I said. Jeannie.
Poling. Think of pole and lean on it.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm a resident here. I have no children and everything. I've been here since 95. And I feel like I really need to get our kids back to reading, writing, arithmetic, and science. Focus on that. We don't want to fight what we fought in the 70s for discrimination. I don't want to hear any of this discrimination stuff. I don't care if they're black, brown, purple, people eaters, whatever. Be nice to each other. Be polite. Learn manners. You can be assertive, but you don't have to pick on people. Excuse me. Allergies. We are a nation of immigrants, and we fought hard to eliminate racism and sexism in our society. And for me to see us going back to that, I am appalled. I don't want to see it again. I want our flag in our schools. That's it. I want to hear the Pledge of Allegiance like we did here. We do our best work when we collaborate. One person doesn't have all the answers. So separating us by race and sex sets us back decades. And I'd like it stopped right now. To force people to put masks on when there's clear evidence out there that those suckers don't work. I'm sorry, they don't. And putting vaccines in kids and doing that repeatedly, you're impacting their immune system so they don't recover. So please don't be doing this. And that's all I have. Thank
All right,
you.
thank you. Next we have Jay. This is not my fault, Jay. Martinez, the way you wrote this. Nothing.
Martinez.
Martinez, okay. Oh, is that you? Oh, never mind, Jay. Oh, Jay,
It's Jax.
Jax.
never mind, Jax. You're too young to be corrected. I'm sorry. You're right like you want to. All right, Jax, go.
I'm here because I need to be. I recently heard of a policy KSD board members have discussed banning most flags from classrooms. I'm a transgender student, causing me to have grown up in a world of hate. My safe havens are my teachers, the ones who went out of their ways to show flags such as the transgender flag and the LGBTQ+ pride flag. But now that is being taken from me, taken from my fellow students, taken from fellow teachers that are members of the LGBTQ+ community. I've kept quiet about the board's decisions, the ones I disagree with, but this I cannot keep quiet about. This is stripping the rights of not only me, but so many others. I'm pleading, begging for the fellow board members to consider the other options. Consider your students, your teachers, who will be affected by this. Please, listen to us, support us, because you're our final hope. This is our last chance, and I intend to speak up for the students who cannot do it themselves. All I ask is for you to consider the options, consider what is at risk. Thank you, and good night.
Thanks, Jax. Jax. And next is that Jackson? Jackson wait.
Kinsley. It's
Wait a
Kinsley.
minute, I know you, Jackson.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't supposed to say that. I know you.
It's okay. Hello, my name is Jackson Kinsley, and I am here to talk to you about LGBTQ+ in the classrooms, just like my friend Jax. I believe that this should not be banned. This policy is completely outrageous. I know many students who are a part or extreme allies of the LGBTQ+ community, and it hurts to know that that they are not getting the same representation as other people because of communists, or not communists, something else, I forgot the word, of other students that don't feel comfortable with the pride flag in the classroom. I don't agree with this, and this should not be how it is. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, that's all that we have signed up for comments tonight. I thank you for speaking up and sharing your thoughts. I mean, it might not seem like it, but we really do appreciate it. And it's a good part of our diplomatic way of doing things. That we hear from everyone. Now for that, I'm off my soapbox. Put this down here. Okay, next thing on our agenda are consent items. Do we have a motion to approve the consent items?
I move to approve consent items as written.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, discussion. All right, call for a roll call vote.
Mr. Galbraith,
Yes.
Mr. Valentine,
Yes.
Ms. Sunvik,
Yes.
and Mr. Mabry.
Yes.
Thank you.
Looks like we have a human resources report. Is that you, Tracy?
Those were actually part of consent.
Okay,
So,
sorry. I've been corrected. But I'm still talking to Tracy because superintendent board report is next. Bear with me. Bear with me. Well, if Tracy's not ready, we just. Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mabry. I have just a couple of items for superintendent's report tonight. The first one's actually a recognition, and you might not know this, but the month of October is National Principals Month. And we had school administrators here in August, and we introduced our new school principals and assistant principals, and we had a big turnout. But I did want to not let October go by without recognizing National Principals Month, so I'm going to read a declaration from Governor Inslee. And it says, whereas the Washington Senate has declared the month of October 2022 as National Principals Month in coordination with the efforts of the National Association of Elementary School Principals and the National Association of Secondary School Principals, working with the U.S. Congress to designate National Principals Month and resolutions thereof, and whereas principals and assistant principals play significant roles in our education system by creating hope for every student in their buildings, by leading culture, systems, and learning, and by working tirelessly each day as visionaries, assessment experts, community builders, public relations experts, budget analysts, facility managers, special programs administrators, and guardians of various legal, contractual, and policy mandates and initiatives. And whereas principals and assistant principals work collaboratively with families, teachers, and district officials to develop mission statements, set performance goals and objectives for schools to achieve educational excellence, and maintain high curriculum standards and expectations for all students. And whereas the Association of Washington School Principals honors such exemplary principals and assistant principals who have succeeded in providing high-quality learning opportunities for students, as well as their exemplary contributions to the profession. And whereas to honor and recognize the contribution of all school principals and assistant principals to the success of each student in Washington schools, our most valuable resource, and to encourage residents of Washington to observe Principals Month with appropriate ceremonies and activities that promote awareness of the importance of school leadership and ensuring that every child has access to a high-quality education. Now, therefore, I, Jay Inslee, Governor of the State of Washington, do hereby proclaim October 2022 as Principals Month in Washington, and I encourage all people in our state to join me in this special observance. And it's signed by Governor Inslee, so yes, thank you. I appreciate just taking a moment to recognize the outstanding building leaders we have here in our district. Also, you know, it's a great connection because the school improvement plans were approved by the board this evening, and really that is the ongoing continuous improvement plan that principals develop, where they set goals both for school culture and for academic outcomes, and monitor that plan throughout the year. So thank you to our school principals. My other quick item is just a quick update on October 31st is coming up, and not only is it Halloween, it's also the day that all of the governor's emergency mandates expire. So there's been a couple of questions about what is that going to look like? And so I just wanted to highlight briefly a couple of things. We did receive an update from OSPI where the Department of Health released the updated guidance for K-12 schools, and all of the new rules take effect October 31st. The state emergency expires at that time, and so the only COVID-related safety requirements are the ones that were already in law prior to the pandemic. So basically, it's about reporting, that we're required to report cases to the local health jurisdiction, outbreaks or suspected outbreaks. We have to cooperate with public health authorities. So all of these things were really already in place and will continue. We also follow, as an employer, the L&I rules, and they're essentially about reporting, keeping workplace safety, allowing staff to wear masks if that they so desire. The other thing that was in place that's coming off was the vaccination requirement for staff and for volunteers. So basically for adults who are working with students. All that expires October 31st. So we're in the process of updating job postings and our volunteer application to reflect the new rules. And that's my report.
All right, thank you, Tracy. Any questions? Tracy? The report? I have a quick question. Would the principals get a copy of the proclamation?
I will absolutely send them one.
All right, it's pretty fancy looking. That's why I'm asking. It's pretty sharp. Okay, with that said, we can move on to. Say again? No, we don't. Oh, sorry. We want to hear from the students. Guys, I'm kidding a little bit because this is important, so I don't want to take away from her because she's so good at this.
Hello, everyone. So we did not have a student advisory meeting this week. However, I have been reaching out to the Kennewick high schools here, and I recently met with Kennewick's ASB, and they've had a few successful events this year, including their homecoming, which was this past weekend, which we are all very glad that our schools were able to have open and normal homecomings, and they are planning on hosting a food drive soon. And Kamaikan's ASB also just had homecoming as well as a successful Pink Week, and we had our assembly, and we are starting to plan our winter wishes, which is where we are able to gift students with things that they may need or want over the winter. And I am working right now to meet with all the Kennewick high schools just to get to know them and connect our schools more. So that's it. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much. She's not going to WSU though, so that's a loss for us. We have a year to trade. Okay, sorry about that. I'll stop it. Do we have any other board member reports?
Yeah, I'll quickly share. I just want to wish all of our fall student athletes good luck as they enter postseason play. As they're going through that now, I know some sports are still finishing the season, but good luck to them in postseason play. Congratulations to the Kennewick and Southridge football teams, because that game was fantastic as a fan watching that. So congrats to both those teams, and they'll do well in the postseason. And the last thing I want to say is I appreciate everybody just showing up and sharing their concerns or opinions with us, because it is good to hear from the community. It's nice to see a room full of people rather than one or two just kind of sitting here. So it truly shows that people care. I would just encourage everybody to continue to show up to the board meetings, or at least watch them, and not necessarily take what's written in our local paper as word, because there's some stuff that's missing in that. So if you show up and watch the meetings, I think you'll get more information that can fill in stuff, rather than get us to a point where there might be a lot of missing information and some division between the community. So I appreciate you guys showing up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I echo what Gabe said. That is for sure. I went to the KSD College and Career Expo this last week. It was really good. I talked to hundreds of students probably, and actually saw London over there. And it's really cool just kind of listening to what they wanted, what their dreams and aspirations and goals are for life. And that's really a really neat thing. I've always said that one of the main things that I think our kids need to graduate with is a belief, right? And a belief that they can do anything and that they can be anything. So that's really, really important. And then it's up to us to give them the skills so they can make that happen. And as Ron even said, and I'll echo Ron's word, it's important that we hear from the students. Ron just said that when we were referring to London. That isn't really, it is important. That's why I talk to hundreds of kids. And because if you can't represent them if you aren't talking to them. And so, and that's why I will continue to do that. And it was the kids were great and they represented themselves well. And I just wanted to say that. And I also echo what Gabe said. I mean, there's a lot of comments and I just think that they were created by the Tri-City Herald. So.
2 seconds before you start, I'm moving on.
No.
Okay.
So as your board legislative rep, it's my job to go to some of the Washington State School Directors Association trainings and meetings, and every 2 weeks we have a networking hour, which when we had our last one, it was on school safety, and Ella DeVere, who's from Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, spoke to us on new things coming, new things that our districts are doing, and I was interested that just about everything they thought was fabulous is what we are doing in our district and planning to do in our district. So student safety is certainly important. Benton Franklin Transit Mobility Access Task Force meeting, which there is a new, we call them a trip trainer. It's a person who helps people with disabilities be more able to use the transit. And so I've sent him some names in our district cabinet that he can talk with because he wants to come and work with our cabinet people and with students. Also, we had the monthly Racial Equity and Social Justice Coalition of Tri-Cities meeting, and they are certainly concerned with our student safety. Superintendent of Public Instruction Reichdahl had on TVW the other day, increasing teacher retention to enhance student learning, and in it was his, I guess I would say his budget for the coming biennium that he would like to speak to legislators. And if you want to know more about that, you can check him out online, but there was a lot of good things on that. WASDA nominating committee, election certification meeting the other day, and so we have new people coming up through that. Key Connections, which is Kennewick Empowering Youth monthly meeting, and at that, I was very proud that Jan Salisbury from Southridge was our speaker, and she was talking about multiple multi-tiered systems of support, and which is at Southridge is called RISE, and the which is respect, integrity, safety, and engagement. And she was talking about the lessening of issues, problems, discipline, etc. At Southridge due to their use and everybody's use of that. Listened to 2.5 hours of the Richland School Board meeting last night. They were not done when I finished. And then today was the League of Education Voters, they call them webinars, they're webinars, and it was combating hate in education. And they had 2 students, a teacher, a community worker, and Aaron Jones, who previously was Assistant Superintendent of Public Instruction. And great issues about combating hate in our schools and in our communities towards our schools.
All right. Thank you, Diane. Is that it?
That's it.
I didn't mean to cut
Nope,
you short.
that's it.
Okay, my turn. And passports, you've been given passports. I'm talking to my board members. I've read 6. I'm leading. I just want everyone to know.
Ron, you're going to win.
Because you started it before we did.
That doesn't count, Diane. You can catch up.
I will.
I have faith in you. 6. And I'm going to embarrass you every good board meeting because I'm going to ask you where you stand. And as promised, you all been given the passport, right?
Yep.
Confirmed?
Yes.
Confirmed.
All right, 6, and the classroom books don't count. So.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, they
It
can
doesn't
count.
say
Okay,
that.
they count, okay. Oh, and another thing, I was talking to school members at Southridge, and they were telling us about some events. They were telling me about some events that occurred. COVID is, I don't want to say over, I don't want to jinx us. Get out and support the kids. Attend these events. There was choir, there's football games, there's all drama events. We got to fill the schools. We got to start attending again because these kids need our support. They're going out of their way to basically entertain us, and it's disrespectful for us to not attend. So even if you don't have kids, go to the schools. It's entertainment. It's, well, I don't know how cheap it is, but
Senior citizens can.
and the popcorn's really good popcorn.
Senior citizens can.
And also, seniors, I don't know who she's talking to, senior citizen, but somebody, senior citizen, can go for free.
Dr. Pierce can mention how you get your card, maybe. The gold card.
Yeah, there's a gold card. You can go on our website for information, and I'm looking at Robin here to help me out, but exactly where on the website, but it is available to members of the community, and it for free to get into school events and athletic events, and I'm just stalling a little bit until Robin makes her way to the podium because she can fill in the detail that I left out.
Sure, we still have the Tri-Cities Senior Citizen Gold Card, and that's available to any resident of the Richland, Pasco, or Kennewick School District. You can walk into any of the school district offices and get a gold card. You don't have to be in that district physically.
Oh, great.
You can be in another district, and it's good for games. So if you're a Kennewick resident, it's good for a game in Pasco or for a game in Richland. It's not just athletic events, it's ASB events.
Yeah, great, good deal.
So, and this year has been a banner year for us. We have people walking through the door getting their cards.
Nice.
But not playoff events.
Yeah, no.
People should know, it doesn't,
Okay.
it's not good for playoffs.
Yes, it does have some restrictions.
And what's considered senior citizen?
65 plus.
See, Diane.
So you can get one soon.
Oh, not 65.
Soon.
60.
Thank you, Robin.
Okay, good deal. That's all memory report. Do we go on to reports and discussions? All right. Look like our strategic goal report. Matt? You ready?
I am ready.
I don't give you a whole lot of time to get started there, man. I'll move on.
We're moving quick tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, it's already minimized? Okay, sorry, I thought it was already. Okay, get it all ready to go. Okay. Okay, so we are here tonight to give a goal report around one of our strategic plan goals, that all community members are important collaborators. And so it is one of our 7 strategic plan goals. And tonight we want to specifically call out 2 of our outstanding partners. We want to have some time to learn a little bit about communities and schools of in Franklin, and kind of highlighting what their work over the course of the past year. And then we're also going to hear from the Children's Reading Foundation of the Mid-Columbia. And then last, we're going to hear from Robin Chastain, who's going to outline our adult learning opportunities through community education programs. So we're going to highlight 3 of the ways that we're involving community in improving and for the betterment of our students and staff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite first Lupe Mari from our communities and schools, along with Amy and Leanne, and I think our very own principal Joe from Southgate, to talk a little bit about communities and schools.
Thank you. I'm Amy Strege. I'm the program manager for our Kennewick team. And thank you for letting us showcase the work that we are doing. I'm going to hit the button. This year we're really excited because we were able to expand into 2 new schools, one of them being Southgate this year. The other one is Cascade. So now we're in a total of 11 schools. We're really excited because this is helping us develop some feeder patterns too, so we can help support students through elementary, middle, and then high school. Our student support coordinators have been really active, starting off the year great. They're working on school support plans and school needs assessments. Some of the things that the supports that they're coming up with are the ones that are listed here. What's really important to remember is our student support coordinators are looking at the particular needs of each building and within each school, looking at what's the needs of individual students and families. So it's not a cookie cutter style. We really want to make sure that we are supporting each school with what their needs are and then individual families as well. Last year, we were able to provide 705 school-wide supports throughout the school year, throughout the 9 schools that we were in last year. We provided more than 15,000 basic needs to families and students. We supported 409 students case manage, and that can be meeting with students once a week or once a month, depending on their individual needs. And then providing school-wide services and individual supports, like the ones previously listed, to individual to students being served, either case managed or non, just depending on what those students and families needed. And so this year, we're really excited because we have been already able to support 148 school-wide supports, and we're only at the end of October. So that gets us really excited to see what we can do for the rest of the year. We've already provided more than 1,300 basic needs just in the last month or so, and we're already case managing 248 students in the 11 schools and providing them with those individual supports. And so I have Leanna. She's our student support coordinator, and she is at our new building at Southgate, and so she's going to talk a little bit about what she has going on there.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. My name is Leanna Wright, and I get to work alongside Joe Jones and Brandy Weinheimer over here. They're an awesome team, and I'm so glad to be at Southgate this year. Like Amy said, it's a brand new school that we're in, so it's been really fun to just kind of get myself out there, starting to meet students. I think that a big focus for myself has just been being intentional with the kids and with staff, so they know who I am and who just what I do at the school. To start off the year, I got to go into a lot of our classrooms and just give them a simple introduction of who I am and how I can help. And I just want to make sure that students know I'm an extra layer of support at school. I want to make sure that they're having good days at school, good days at home, and just remind them that they're loved and they're valued. So this kind of shows just a capture of things so far this year that I have got to be a part of. I currently am case managing 13 students, so that is kind of like those kiddos that need that extra one-on-one support. So I'm checking in with them more frequently, and that looks different for every student. Sometimes it's around behavior challenges, social emotional challenges, and even check-ins with the parents and making sure families have the basic necessities to be successful in school and at home. I've done some home visits and connected with parents that way. Lots of resource flyers, just making sure families feel connected to the community. Sometimes they just don't know what's out there. Lots of social emotional learning, which include mindfulness activities, and I have this affirmation wall in my office that I specifically do with a couple of my case managed students that are girls and they're needing that extra confidence, and we focus on who they are as a person, and saying these things over and over kind of, you know, lays that into their heart that they do matter and they are these things. I'm also working with students on things like impulse control and having my office be a place for de-escalation and calm down and just having a safe place to take a break, because sometimes school is hard and they need somewhere to go to do that. Basic needs, clothing, hygiene, food, lots of that, just making sure kids have everything they need. And
One of my favorites so far is October is Bullying Prevention Month. And so I got to put together some pretty cool activities for students to do in their classrooms, just to understand what bullying is, how it's identified, how to be a good friend, and the signs of that, how to report it. So tomorrow I'm actually finishing the activity with all students, and all the students are going to get the chance to paint their hand on a big poster that says "We Stand Up for Kindness." And so that just shows these kids pledging against bullying and standing up for kindness to come together and understand why that's important. So it's been awesome, and I love my job, and I love the work that we get to do, and this is just kind of a small glimpse of it. So.
I don't have a whole lot to add other than how grateful we are to have the community schools in our building. If I could just share one thought, it would be how student-driven and family-centered Leanna's work is, and that's what it's all about. And that's why we're all here. It's for our kids, and that's what her work is about. She's a member of our team. She is part of our staff, and we greatly appreciate that. Not only is she supporting students, but often we hear from our teachers how much they appreciate how visible Leanna is, how much she's working with kids, how she's proactive, a self-starter, and not waiting for issues to happen, but making sure kids are taken care of, and not just the kids. But when kids are struggling, sometimes that symbolizes that maybe there's some parents that are struggling with their individual things that are going on. So she reaches out to our parents and helps help them identify ways to become more successful, and as we partner with supporting students. She's a great partner with our counselor. So becoming very much an integral part of our school, what she's doing, and it's all about supporting kids. And so we couldn't be more pleased and happy to have community schools in our school, and look forward for a great rest of the year. So thank you to Leanna and Amy and Community and Schools.
Is there any questions?
In the audience,
yeah.
Sorry.
I just got.
Hold on, sorry.
Yeah.
I saw a hand in the audience, and I want to call on you so bad, but our policy is that this is a presentation to the board. And so the board has to not take questions from the audience, but they're going to sit down here in a minute. Oh, and then you might want to just catch them before they leave. Sorry that I can call them. So go ahead. Sorry.
So I guess my question would be, and this kind of goes back to a little bit last year. So last year in one of the school districts, there was a post made, and the school district had to come out and say this really doesn't align with our school district. I believe it was Findlay. What safeguards do we have to ensure that things that are being done with community and schools align with the school district's policies and procedures? I'm assuming as a organization in the schools, you have to follow KSD policies. Am I correct, Dr. Pierce?
Yeah, well, let me take that one. I'm not familiar with what you're referring to that may have happened in another district.
Sure.
But I can speak to our district. So we have a district level liaison who is Brian Levitt, who's our K-12 Director of Student Services, works with Matt and his team. And they meet regularly with Lupe and and Lupe's title is?
She's our executive
director. Thank you, of communities and schools. And so there's a great open communication and alignment with the work that communities and schools does and what we're trying to accomplish as a school district. I'm not aware in my time here where we've had any kinds of issues with not being aligned.
Sure.
So, that's good to know. I wasn't aware that there was something that happened somewhere else, but I think our communication and our structures and their awareness of our goals and what we're working on and our awareness of their programs and offerings have made it so we've got a real good, strong, successful partnership.
So in the schools, then I'm assuming I'll use Southgate in this, I guess, example. So Joe, you're ultimately responsible for community schools in your building and what goes on and all those things. Like, you're the accountable partner, I guess, for them, as any principal would be in any school. right? Is that?
Yeah, and the,
Okay.
you know, the people who work in our schools, who are communities and schools people, I'm not, coordinators, is that the correct title? Thank you.
Student support coordinators. yeah.
Okay. You know, we contract with them to have them be on site. So they're employees of communities and schools, but they're
Okay.
working in our schools. But as Joe mentioned, they're really an integral part of the team, including counselors and other support people and administrators, the principal, the assistant principal. So they're really working in unison. And you're right. I mean, it wouldn't be, we wouldn't have a situation where the communities and schools coordinators sort of working outside of what was happening in the school, overseen by the administration.
So like posting on reader boards in schools and stuff like that, that's all, like principals approve that and all that stuff,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
Okay. That was the situation in Findlay.
Oh,
There was
okay.
some stuff posted. Apparently it got wind. The school district came out and said, look, this doesn't align with our views. I think it was June 8th. You can still go find it on Findlay's webpage. So I just want to make sure that we have policies in place that it wouldn't happen in our schools, so, because we don't want to have to,
Sure.
you know, deal with
Understood.
that situation. Last question I have is, you said contract. What do we provide annually as a school district?
Yeah, why don't I follow up with that with the specifics?
Okay.
And get it to you. The board approves that on an annual
Yeah.
basis. Yeah, so you've approved it already for
Right.
this year, and there was really direction from the board about a year and a half ago to expand communities and schools, which we've been working on doing. So I can get I can follow up with the specifics
Okay,
of all of that.
yeah, perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
So I just want to say something, so that the last taste in your mouth is nothing against what you just said. I just want to make it clear, this is one of my favorite programs. And like it's been said before, nothing but kudos in the past. We have had zero issues with this program. Just to make it clear for us, Kennewick School District, it's been a great
Yeah,
program.
I'm not arguing that fact. I just want to make sure that we have safeguards in place to ensure it doesn't happen at all in the future, so.
And I'd like to say that there's a family that's very close to my heart that is one of your families at Southgate. So thank you for what you do for them. It's made a huge difference.
I have a question.
Yes, go, sorry.
Okay, yeah. So I have seen communities and schools in schools, and I recognize that you guys do a lot of really, really good work. And as a matter of fact, I'm intimately familiar with I'm not exactly sure what it's called, like Pancake Wednesdays at Legacy, and and other things as well. So I do recognize you guys do great work. I do believe that the behavior that we like promote, the behavior that one subsidizes is like the behavior that they can get more of, right? So that's important, right? As we're promoting certain behaviors, that we can get more of those. Couple stats that I was just looking up today. Children who grow up in the home, I have so many stats, I'm not going to read them all, but children who grow up in homes without fathers are 5 times more likely to commit violent crimes, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, 20 times more likely to end up in prison. Have all kinds of stats and data of children who are born in wedlock to a father and a mother. And my question is to you is, what are you doing to promote that nuclear family? I've been through your Facebook page and I'm just trying to wrap my mind around how, like, you know, I believe that's a very important part of our society. I'm kind of wondering what communities and schools are doing to promote the nuclear family.
That's a really good question. I think where we stand is we meet families where they are when we come in contact with them and help support them through the barriers inside and outside of school. And so just supporting them with their, if it's basic needs, emotional needs, if it's connections with the community for support, for other entities that we do not provide, that's where we are. We really do try to come alongside families and students to get them to a point where they are succeeding on their own, and we don't necessarily lean in one direction or another. It's just where we just really do meet families where they are and try to get them to where they want to be and what their goals are and what success looks like for them, and not define success for them.
Okay, yeah. Yep.
And I think too, that just goes like, I like to empower my families, right? And so that a lot of the times is that connection to a community resource. If I don't have the answers, I want to do my best to guide them in the right direction, right? So if it is maybe a mentorship that a student is needing, getting creative in the community and finding that connection for them to seek outside of school, right?
Mhm.
So we're kind of that bridge and that gap to what's next, what's going to be there longer than I can be there.
Right, so like, so you have the kids, and then you're trying to, the words you use, guide them into a direction, right? So when I look at your Facebook post, for example, is that guiding in a direction? Because I mean, is that what those are to do, is to promote and to bridge that gap, to take the kid from here to what that Facebook post is promoting?
I'm not sure. Are you talking about like a specific post or? Okay. She might have another.
This
is
our executive director.
We're going to let her go ahead and take
Thank
that
you.
one.
Hello.
Hi.
Lupa here. So yeah, going back to your post, because I think I know what you're trying to get at, but so our job is to ensure that we're in alignment with the school district and that we are supporting students and families in school and at home. So whatever barriers are getting in the way of that to their academic success, that's what our job is, to ensure that they're on track, that they're one, coming to school, that two, they're staying engaged in school, and three, that we can see them from kindergarten all the way until they graduate. That's our job.
Okay. I just encourage, the community to really dive in and check you out. Like I say, I really think that you guys do really, really great work. And a matter of fact, I'm in line with 95% of what you guys do. There's that 5% that I feel like is quite loud, and that I have an issue with, to be quite honest. But other than that, I think that the stuff that I've seen is very, very good, and it's very supportive, and it's awesome.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I hope that the outcomes that our students have is what is the loudest at the end of the day. So.
Yeah, because the things you're promoting, that's leading people, that's bridging people to the next step. So I would love to see something about promoting like the nuclear family and that kind of thing. And you know, sometimes this is the only father that they see. You know, Joe is, that's right. So.
Yeah, we'll continue focusing and being in alignment with the district and ensuring that we're continuing to have.
It's a district conversation then.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for what you do and what you have done.
Thank you.
All right.
I also wanted to highlight just really quickly with the CIS, and I'll just take ownership. They received very short notice because somebody might have forgotten to let them know about this presentation. So they really responded very well. I appreciated very much their willingness and ability to pull together a presentation. So I appreciate that with those folks. Also wanted to introduce now Erin Lee, who is the Educational Program Director for the Children's Reading Foundation of Mid-Columbia.
Hi, like Matt said, I am Erin Lee, the Educational Program Director for the Children's Reading Foundation of Mid-Columbia. So the CRMFC, our mission is to encourage and educate families about their important role in raising a reader and preparing their children for kindergarten. We help by supporting schools and ensuring students read on grade level by 3rd grade. And we also facilitate community involvement in helping young readers be successful. So that's our core mission at the Children's Reading Foundation in Mid-Columbia. We have actually the Reading Foundation nationally, as well as some of our programs, originated in Kennewick School District. So we've had a long-standing relationship with Kennewick School District and a partnership. We provide a kindergarten readiness program and a one-to-one tutoring program where we utilize volunteers in the school since 1996. So we offer 2 programs. My little graphics aren't working, but Ready for Kindergarten and Team Read. So Ready for Kindergarten, what it is we offer a program where we have 26 age level targets. We work with parents with children from 0 to age 5. We provide training, we provide the tools, and we provide the targets for them to utilize to learn how to play with purpose with their children with some kindergarten readiness skills. When the pandemic hit, prior to the pandemic, we were doing in-person workshops across the district. When the pandemic hit, we decided to take it into an e-learning experience. And so we've been able to create self-paced e-learning workshops for parents. I have a link there that if anybody's curious after the meeting, I'd be glad to stay and show you what a module looks like, what the parents would see. We do dedicated extensive outreach via social media, email, text, and in person with our Ready parents. We really dedicate our lives to our Ready parents, myself as well as our community outreach director, to try and get parents to participate in Ready. We also have community partnerships and collaborations that we work with. Some of them are referral streams for us. We have a system in place where they take a picture of a collect info form and they send it to us, and we call the parent right away and we get them going on Ready for kindergarten. But you can see a lot of the community partnerships, CIS being one of them. We work with them about trying to get families involved with Ready for kindergarten. So I want to kind of go over last year with you all, just so you get a sense as to how we did. So our contract goal is 2,500 parent and caregiver participants. So last year we had 2,507 workshops done, completed. We serve English and Spanish speakers, migrant and refugee families, economically vulnerable families, families with children who have developmental needs, preschool families, child care providers, and at-risk kindergarten students and families through the Ready program. We also run a program called Ready in Kinder, where we work with kindergarten teachers at these following schools to kind of give that extra support to families and to parents for children that aren't quite meeting some of the key points of being ready for kindergarten. So if you look here, this is kind of the breakup of our, in that 2,507 workshops watched, this is how it kind of breaks out. So as you can see, the English e-learning was our big piece of the pie, then Spanish, our Ready in Kinder program, and then our Family Learning Center and Migrant program, and then child care provider. So at the end of the year, I also do a survey in the evaluation process, and one of the things that I look for is asking them how they felt the workshop was, and the self-paced portion, and the online modality. And this was interesting. It's a 1 to 5 scale. The interactive activities are fun and interesting. So 97% of our parents gave it a 4 or above. And then I love this stat, and people kind of can't believe it, but 100% of participants indicated they would recommend Ready to other families. So I've been a program director for Ready for 4 years. I have never gotten a no on this question. So I love that answer. So our goals for next year, or for this year, is we want to continue. Our contract goal is 2,500 parent and caregiver participants. We'll continue with the e-learning workshops. Kennewick School District families love them. They really like the convenience. They can break it up into chunks. And we keep each season open. There's 3 seasons a year. We keep it open for 2 months at a time, so families can go back in and review it and practice some of the activities, the Play with Purpose activities that are in the e-learning workshop. I also feel like there's just a lot of information in them. So parents have the opportunity for 2 months to just kind of go back in and look at everything in the module, where they may, in an hour in-person session, might miss some of those details. We are adding some in-person workshops to some vulnerable families. We do an English second language workshop. We work with the Family Learning Center, and we do that in person. And then one of the comments we've gotten is parents miss connecting with other parents. So we're going to try and do some meetup and opportunities for parents, maybe some play groups, things like that, where it's not so much a workshop, but more utilizing the tools from Ready, and give parents an opportunity to talk and chat and connect. So this is just the heart of Ready for Kindergarten for us. And I just wanted to kind of highlight, I did get permission from both videos, but to kind of give you a sense, this is one of our Ready tools. So as you can see, a parent is working with her child on one of the Ready tools that they get. And then this is a video from one of our English language learner parents. So this is the heart of what we do, is connecting with our parents and supporting families in playing with purpose and getting their child ready for kindergarten. So I'm going to wear my other hat now, which is Team Read. So we also, with Kennewick School District, offer a program called Team Read, which provides one-to-one volunteer tutoring for K through third graders throughout KSD. During COVID, we offered a hybrid model where our site coordinators were interacting with parents at home. And then last year we did a combination, and this year we're kind of going full in on the in-person, back to what it was prior to COVID. Each site has a dedicated site coordinator that does the volunteer coordination, outreach, and oversight of volunteers. If you're not familiar with Team Read, we do what's called a 30-minute model, where we do 10 minutes of sight and high frequency word practice, 10 minutes of decoding and phonemic awareness, and 10 minutes of shared reading and read alouds. What we found is oftentimes, at least in the kids that are referred to Team Read, it's a lack of exposure. You know, they're not reading at home. They don't have that same shared reading experience. So the relationship that the volunteer forms with the student is pretty special. Our biggest goal is to increase interest in reading and the love of reading. So again, we do a survey of our admin and our teachers, our volunteers, and to kind of get a pulse on how people feel about Team Read in their buildings. So 85% of the teachers last year indicated that the students made substantial or exceptional progress utilizing Team Read. And then we also, 100% of the teachers on the survey indicated that they would utilize Team Read again for their students. Most of the comments from last year was just getting back to in-person, trying to get more volunteers in the buildings and try to go back to a more in-person model of Team Read, which we're doing. So last year for Team Read, including hybrid and in-person, we had 359 students served. We gave out 4,063 books that was distributed through the Team Read program. And with the tutor hours, at the beginning of the year, we just had site coordinators that were in the building that were approved to be in. Come January, we were all ready to do volunteers, and then the Omicron hit. And so we weren't able to bring in as many volunteer tutors towards the end of last year. There was a lot of reservations just because COVID kind of did another spike. So some of our volunteers were really hesitant to come back in person. I'm not seeing that this year. This year, I'm getting a lot of interest. So we'll keep building. So our volunteers currently, I have 75 that are vetted and in the schools today. So each site, we're in 9 sites. So each site has roughly between 5 and 10 currently. And every day I keep getting those volunteer applications, and we keep calling and getting people scheduled. So for our volunteers, the goal for our volunteers is to be trained, supported, and have an enjoyable experience with Team Read. We really try to take care of our volunteers. We're so happy that they're there, right? And that they're serving students. So we try to make sure that it's an enjoyable experience, that they're considered valuable in the schools. We make sure that they're trained. So we just had a volunteer tutor training here in this room, actually. And we had quite a bit of attendance, so we trained them on that 30-minute model and what Team Read is all about, as well as KSD and CRMFC policies. We want to make sure our volunteers are supported. So each, like I said, each site has a site coordinator. So that site coordinator does the oversight of the volunteers. So anything the volunteers need or any type of feedback, they can kind of have a person on site to get their questions asked and answered. And then again, this was a survey that we gave our volunteers last year. We want it to be an enjoyable experience for them. And most of our volunteers come back. They love working with the students. They really do. We have a lot of retired teachers, retired reading specialists. We have a lot of grandparents, but I'm also seeing a lot more young people. So we've also vetted some Running Start students this year. We started a program with Mid-Columbia Partnership, the high school. They are walking over to Fuerza and doing some tutoring. And then we're also building a relationship with the ARC that was in the past. So they come with a client and they do some tutoring with the students as well. So we're trying to get back to kind of what Team Read model was in the past, kind of getting back to the real McCoy. Our contract goal is 9 schools and up to 350 students. So these are the 9 schools that we're in currently. So our goal for Team Read is to continue to provide one-to-one tutoring using volunteer, and then to enhance training to volunteers and site coordinators aligning with KSD literacy goals. So this year I was able to secure Liz Dale before she retired, and she came and did a training for our site coordinators. So she did a wonderful training with them. They felt they were really appreciative of learning all the things that KSD does in terms of trying to accomplish the literacy goals. Now, CRMFC also supports KSD in having a literacy impact. So a lot of you, I'm sure you've seen online, read 20 minutes a day, right? So CRMFC really promotes that within the community. So for KSD, we've given over 5,000 books last year, totaling $30,000. We do first teacher libraries, where you have first teachers in Kennewick School District. They get a 75 book library. If they submit their application, we do a program called Resolution Read, where families get 12 books at the start of the year. And then we also do a program, Read Up, Stop the Summer Slide. So we're out in the community all summer long giving out books to students. You also, I don't know if everybody knows this, but you can submit a school and community book request through our website. So if teachers or anybody has certain events, they can go to our website and submit that. And if we have the books and have enough time, we will disperse them. So I'm always at events. I've seen some of you at events. We make the rounds at open houses, kindergarten roundups, math, STEM, and reading nights. I was just sharing pictures from Washington's Spectacular. I just got it from our community outreach director, giving out books to kids. We do meet and greets, summer concert series, back to school community events. We try to be all over to just promote reading, the love of reading, and reading 20 minutes a day. So whether it's providing the Team Read and Ready for Kindergarten program, supporting new teachers, and being out in the community, giving out books. We hope to continue our partnership with KSD, and we certainly, one of the CIS site coordinators indicated, it's hard to think of this as a job when you get to hand out books all day and you love what you do. So we thank you for everything and the support that you've given us. So did anybody have any questions for me?
I have just a couple quick questions.
Sure.
First, those are some spectacular metrics. To not have a no is pretty amazing. Just questions about like the volunteers. So
sure.
when someone volunteers, are they volunteering specifically for a school, or are they just volunteering for Team Read in general, and then they're kind of assigned to one of the schools we have?
So we do kind of like a volunteer interest survey. So most volunteers will pick a school, whether it's closer to their home or whether it's they have a grandchild there or they have an affinity to the school. Most of our volunteers stay at one school. We have a few that will make that trek to multiple schools, but they tend to be with that site coordinator at that school for the year.
Okay. And so you a couple times, like the contract goal or school is 9. What is there something keeping us from, because we're only in about half our elementary schools, it looks like, is there something keeping us from this program being in the rest of our elementary schools? Because reading obviously is so critical at that age. Is it a contract thing? Is it a volunteer thing?
It's probably all of the above. So we do an annual review with Rob and Vic to kind of go over what schools that we're going to be in. It depends on capacity. It depends on volunteership. It depends on, we want to try and get a geographic kind of disbursement in KSD. We don't want Team Read to just be centered in one area. But sure, it's some of its capacity, right, and staffing for our site coordinators.
Okay, because I know we have, obviously, we've thrown our volunteer list up there a lot, so I see some of these schools have a lot of volunteers. It would be neat or potentially interesting to see if some of those volunteers would be interested in participating at Team Read at their school so they can help more on a regular basis. Or
So I cast a pretty wide net. So I work with Gail over at the volunteer where I get temporary approvals to me and then I call them. And we reach out. We try to cast a wide net just to see if we can get some volunteership. Oftentimes, if we outreach and we talk to the volunteer or the potential volunteer, they get convinced to do this meaningful work. It's just we have to cast the wide net.
Right.
We do have some schools that have less volunteership.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I try to go to different volunteer fairs and things like that to try and cast the net, try to get more people involved.
Awesome. Awesome.
So
Well,
I love this.
I was to say, if you're listening online, you can volunteer.
Yes,
Just
please plug volunteer. So you can go on KSD's website under volunteer and you can click, there's a box specifically for Team Read, but there's boxes for all of the volunteer opportunities, but Team Read is one of the options as well as school.
Ron, if I may, so I love this. This is like one of the things that I've been like dying for. This, is this kind of this way to promote the core, reading, math, science, like this. I love this. So and the great presentation. I wrote down probably 15 questions, and I swear every time I write down a question, you answered it like 10 seconds later.
Oh, that's great.
So I mean, but I just want to make sure I have this really. So,
Sure.
Your goal is to be into 9 schools, you said, right? Up to 9 schools now, but we're
As
not.
our contract rate.
But we're not in 9 schools right now.
We are in 9 schools.
Okay, so we've met that goal.
Correct.
So then the next goal is let's more like 17, right? We have 17 elementaries, is that right? 17 elementary schools? I think we do. Yeah. So, okay, so that's the next goal, right? Is let's get them in every school, right? I know it's easier said than done, but and then restrictions, you kind of talked about several different types of restrictions. Do you feel like you have any restrictions right now that's holding you back? I mean, you talked about COVID and that's kind of over.
I think just building up the volunteership right now.
So just literally just numbers. That's the main thing.
Yeah, numbers. We do train them. So we do kind of watch for, are they a good fit, right? And will they be reliable and consistent and things like that. A lot of our students aren't reading at home and have a really tough relationship with reading. So we want a consistent volunteer through the year to kind of help them make those successful jumps. So yeah, we go through training. They have to be background checked, all of the hoops that you have to go through. Yeah.
Thank you for being proactive and calling and stuff. That's great. I would just encourage you to, like Gabe was saying, look for a way, because I know that there are some schools that have a lot of volunteers and other schools that don't, right? So there's a way that we can, look to maybe split that up if a parent or grandma or some community member doesn't mind going to another school. I just would encourage us to look for those solutions so we can try to see if we can't get this out
broader.
Yeah.
That's
all I have. Thank you. I mean, I have tons of questions, but I feel like
I can answer that. I mean, I'm going to
I'll
be
chat
here,
with you
so
after.
yeah, sure.
Diane?
So I tell you this every year. I did Ready for Kindergarten for 3 years and taught that, and it was I don't know about parents, but for me, it was the most meaningful experience I had in 41 years of teaching. So it is, and it was fabulous. And I have several young friends that are doing the online now still, and one of them did it in person previously with their first child, and they really, just as you said, I can go back and look, or the baby gets fussy, I can stop, I can go back and look, or one spouse is home at a certain time, the other spouse at a different time, we can do it at different times and watch it. So I'm glad that you're in person again for those who need it, but that seems to be, the e-learning seems to be huge.
It is.
For
They
families.
really are enjoying the convenience and being able to even chunk it out around their day, right? So if they have 10 minutes and they're in the car,
Yep.
they can, it will work on a cell phone, tablet, or PC. So that's really helpful. The other thing too is, 6 to 8 o'clock p.m. is really tough for families of 0 to 5. So what I'm finding is the parents love the convenience of it, and being able to self-pace themselves, go back, review, take their notes, that kind of thing.
And we used to offer it on Saturdays, which was also great, except for that's soccer, this,
Right.
that, hunting, whatever it is, and that was
Well,
hard
we
too.
found our fall is always huge. Our numbers would be huge. Winter, we would drop down. Now I'm able to keep that consistent. The ready parents that start with us in the fall finish all year with us. So they get that full year of the fall season, winter season, and spring season. So it just creates that consistency for them.
And one thing I think people don't understand is that we start with baby, or you start with
Yes,
babies.
0-1.
And I said that to somebody, because the baby was 4 months old, you need to sign up. And they said, well, they're not going to kindergarten yet. And I said, no, it's now to be ready. So I know you do a great blast on that, but people just don't pay attention. And then for Team Read, when I was in the buildings, watching those Team Read volunteers is like they're everybody's grandma and grandpa, no matter what age they are. And there are people who come to volunteer that don't really have families, and so those kids become sort of family for them, and the school becomes their family. So it's a win-win-win for everybody, I think. So thank you. I know this is a lot of work, and I appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I echo Diane, what others said, and I really appreciate you reaching out to families, whether they're nuclear families or not. All families are valued, and thank you for reaching out to all of them.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Robin.
All right.
And I want to give a shout out to Robin too, because she helps me all the time with Ready for Kindergarten and just getting everything out to our Kennewick families.
I'm here to talk about community education, and this is Kennewick School District's community education program. It's an evening and weekend classes. We offer evening and weekend classes for adults and for families. So we have incorporated some classes where you can bring your children along, which is great. So our classes take place primarily in district facilities. So if you haven't been in a school building for a long time, this is a great reason to get back in and see some of our new facilities. We also offer an online program through a provider called, excuse me, Ed2Go. And those classes are offered at the convenience of the person that signs up for them from their home computer. We've been offering classes here in Kennewick for more than 30 years, and it serves the entire area. We have people come from Hermiston for classes, as far away as Pendleton for classes. It's just a great resource for the entire community. So this is some of the promotions online. We have quite a social media presence with community education because it's so inexpensive, and we get quite a bit of reach and sharing with these types of posts. So you might see them on your Facebook feeds or Insta. And our community education coordinator is Brooke Leggett. She does an amazing job. She's been with us for a couple years now. When we had the program, we We stopped the program during COVID, and then we restarted it, and she is the person that restarted it and has done this amazing work. So our current class session, we have 2 class sessions a year, is just September through December. We offered 85 classes this year. Class duration, they can range from 1 to 12 hours. They can be series or one-time classes, and we offered a total of 220 hours of class time this year. This session, I should say. Year's not over. We have 45 community education instructors. These are volunteers. Some receive a small stipend to do their work. And then classes range in cost from free, and those are usually emergency preparedness classes or safety-related classes that we wouldn't charge for, to $120, just depending on the type of class. We also have the online classes that I mentioned through Ed2Go. They're offered year-round. There's more than 400 classes offered. These could be business-related, health and fitness, computer, art and design, all very popular classes. They range in costs from $105 to $395, and the district's charged a wholesale rate. So we have averaged about 65 class registrations each year in the past 3 years, so not a significant number. But we're working on building up those class numbers because obviously an online class where we have a separate contracted service provider is very easy for us to do. It doesn't involve a lot of our staffing here. So we do have several of the classes qualify, and we run these by our professional development department for clock hours for our teachers and our paraeducators. So some program statistics for growth. As I mentioned, Brooke has done an amazing job. She gets out there and really hustles. All these instructors, they don't come to us, we come to them. We cold call people. We find them online. We find them in social media. We attend craft bazaars. We do all kinds of things. We ask for referrals, and we convince them to become community education instructors. So as of this fall, it's a banner year. We've had a 221% growth over the fall last year, and we still have a month and a half of sessions left. Many of our classes have waiting lists. A lot of those are the free classes even. And we've had 16 new instructors join our team, and these are instructors that have to be trained. We work with them to find out how they work best and meet them where they're at. Our student participation levels have increased to higher than the pre-pandemic, so we're back on track. And our Ed2Go participation has increased 21% since last year. And Brooke's done an amazing job with visual communications in this program, since there are so many visual things to highlight in the program. She's added Instagram to her program, and that has been a huge hit. So expansion. So she's launching the second session. We're running it from January to May of next year, and we're integrating more family class options. They've been super popular. I can bring my kid to a cookie decorating class at Kennewick High School. She gets to be at a high school, which is super cool. And we get one-on-one time as a family, which is great. We are continuing to recruit more volunteer instructors. Definitely word of mouth is our best recruitment tool. And we're continuing to promote and market the classes to our wider community and get the word out. So one of these days, somebody will say, this isn't Kennewick's best kept secret. Do you have any questions?
When we bring on classes or instructors, is that just based on like their background or what they're good at? So say someone who's welded for 30 years, they might say, hey, I can teach a welding class during a set. I mean, is that kind of how we do the classes and get the instructors, just based on their experience?
Yes, we ask our students what they want to take a class in. That's one way. We look for trends, DIY type trends. We're coming through Instagram and YouTube looking for things that could translate into a good community education class. That's primarily how we get our ideas.
Awesome. And please tell Brooke thank you for her amazing work.
I will. She's running classes tonight at Kennewick High. Any other questions? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That's, listen, you're doing the goal report, right?
Yeah. All right, here we go. I'm going to share tonight a little bit about another one of our board goals, and this one has to do with having all students prepared for their future. I'm going to talk about 3 pieces of this goal. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about graduation rates, dual credit rates, and also our goals around middle school algebra. So the first one we're going to talk about tonight is graduation. It's really that end success, that end celebration of why we're all here. We kind of heard a little bit about the beginning, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the end goal. We want all our kids graduating. I'm going to show you kind of 2 sets of data. One is for students who graduate in 4 years, and then I'm going to show you a set of data of students who graduate in 5 years. Our goal that we track is around a 5-year graduation rate. And so this is where we track some of that, and you can see right here where we're at over the course of the last 3 school years. So we focus on graduation for a number of reasons, and I'm not going to read through all of these, but we know students who are graduating, they're going to make more money. There's more job opportunities. Health, life happiness is going to increase as well. So this is a huge goal that we have for our students. We want them to be part of our community, to be successful, and giving back. So we're going to look first at students who are graduating in 4 years. So here we're just tracking that information, and you can see up here that we've got almost 78% of our students graduating in 4 years. We also are tracking students who are deciding to continue on in programs, and then those that have dropped out. We're going to look at this a few different ways. This is looking at it by demographics, different populations. I'm just going to keep going through them. I know you've got them as well. We also look at these by programs that students are in, our English learners, our low-income students, migrant students, and we like to compare those to the non-EL students, for example. And then we've got one view over time of what this trend looks like over time. Here we have it by our schools, our high schools. We've got the 3 comprehensive high schools along with Legacy, MCP, and Phoenix. And then this one's just a little hard on the eyes, but this has trend lines for the high schools as well, and they're color coded here by each of the schools, beginning back in 2013. So that's a look at students graduating in 4 years. I want to take a minute and look at those doing it in 5 years and some of that data. So that one, you'll see the rate's a little bit higher. It's 86.8. And then I'm just going to show again with our demographics. And those populations, those different programs that we look at to see how we're doing. And then over time, that trend line for 5 years. And then the really hard one on the eyes for our 5-year graduation rate. And this one's by high school.
So while we're happy that this number, this 86.8 is growing, we're never happy with these numbers here. And we're always working to make sure we are increasing our graduates. So these percentages are highlighted here. So that 86.8, that's 1,300 or 1,302 students that graduated in that 5-year cohort. I'm sorry, that's the total students. And we have how many graduated. This one is where we want to do better. These kids, we need to get them graduating. Of those 172, 39 are continuing, and we're doing what we can to support them. And then we have 124 that are re-engaged in programs either with us or there's a program called TC Futures that we partner with and has success with students. There's some students attending high school academy at CBC or open doors programs at CBC. But even so, that we're pleased that 124 are re-engaged, but we need to get more. So we're looking at a new re-engagement position to really recruit and get more kids back in. We've had that position in our migrant program for a couple of years, and we want to expand that to make sure it's not just our migrant students, but other students who we want to get back into programs and get them graduating. The second goal area I want to talk a little bit about is dual credit rates. The district has a goal that 75% of our high school students will graduate with at least one dual credit. And here's how we're doing on that. We're at 72% of our students are graduating with that dual credit.
Alyssa, can I just clarify? So that's actually on this is actually grade 11. So we track where we are at grade 11.
Thank you.
So that's what you're seeing on the screen there.
Okay, thank you. So quickly, what is dual credit? Dual credit is an opportunity for high school students to earn college credit at the same time. These can be in several different programs: AP, IB, Running Start, college in the high school, and CTE, all right, career and technical education classes. These dual credit classes help kind of plant the seed for students to think about maybe some training or college after high school, especially if they weren't thinking about that. And we also know a lot of jobs require more training or more school after high school. And I just want to kind of share like a story of what dual credit is with a human and a person. We got an email today of a partnership with WSU Tri-Cities. One of our students in a dual credit class, it's called Teaching Academy. She's in a class wanting to look at being a teacher. And we learned today that even though she has not graduated from high school, she's been accepted to WSU Tri-Cities, has a mentor at WSU Tri-Cities to become a teacher. And she'll be coming back to us. And she's going to have a mentor the whole way through until she comes back to us. And to me, that's what dual credit is in action, not just the numbers that you're seeing here tonight. I'm sorry.
Yeah. What do you mean when you say she'll come back to us?
We are creating partnerships, and WSU, she's going to student teach with us. She's going to do practicum with us, which means we're going to really work hard to get her hired as a teacher here.
Good.
So that's what I mean.
So any student rep could go through that program and go to WSU instead of going to Florida State.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and let me know who you want to talk to. We have people in all the high schools working on this. Yeah. So here's kind of a breakdown of who is earning these dual credits in each of those grades. Our goal is for 11th grade, but you can see in 10th grade how many students are earning that dual credit. In 11th grade, that's in addition to, we're counting 10th grade and 11th grade. So we hope this number is always going up. And then in 12th grade, by 12th grade, we've had 83% of our students earning at least one dual credit. So another way to look at it is what courses are they in? So this kind of hard chart shows the blue down here is AP classes at the high school, by grade level. The little skinny orange is college and the high school. This is our career and technical education program, that gray. The yellow's IB, and then this top one is Running Start. This little Running Start percentage here, we had we had some students in summer school, I think, and that's why that one was there. Okay, so our final goal area is middle school algebra. The district has a goal that 60% or more of our middle school students earn a high school algebra credit or higher. And on our performance indicators, we track that here in 8th grade. And so for this past school year, we're at 42% of our students earning that. So we know that algebra opens doors to higher level math, and it's sometimes called a gatekeeper to higher level math. And even though we're doing an algebra course goal in middle school, algebraic thinking starts in kindergarten. So we have to prime this all the way through the system to get them ready to have algebra in 8th grade. So here's current numbers of students taking algebra in 8th grade. So for last year, across our middle schools, we had 1,430 students in an algebra, or that's how many students we had. So of those, we had 654 in an Algebra 1 or higher. Some might be in geometry, some might be in another algebra class as well, but algebra or higher. Of those 654, 605 of them earned the credit. Okay. And then that kind of shows the past years as well. So getting to that 60% goal, we've got some work to do. It takes some strategy and some planning. It requires professional development for our teachers, not just 8th grade teachers, but our elementary teachers and middle school teachers as well. We also have to have some systems in place to make sure we're placing our students correctly. We want them to be challenged and be successful. So we have to make sure they're in the right math classes. And we have to make sure we're making sure that algebra being taught in the middle school is aligned with the algebra in the high school, so that there's that transition is as seamless as possible. I wanted to share that professional development that I mentioned for teachers. In August, before school started, we kicked off some of our training with a math summit. We had some national speakers presenting, and we had over 300 teachers attend. It was virtual, but it was over a couple of days, all day. I'm sorry, it was one day, all day. And they could zoom in and out to the different sessions that we wanted to have. But this was the first year we did that, and it's just really created some great conversations for teachers. And it's also a priority in our schools that we're working on math and math instruction this year. So we're going to keep working to get to that 60% goal. Our middle school has a curriculum advisory committee that's really looking at mapping standards, making sure that we are teaching the right things for our students to be successful. We also have elementary teachers working on mapping out their year to make sure they're covering what needs to be covered and that students are coming to middle school prepared. We're working with our principals to have look-fors in classrooms so they know what good math instruction looks like. It has to be high level. It can't just be rote memorization. We want higher level thinking for our students so they can get here. We're also working with some consultants, and they've been on site doing some walkthroughs and giving feedback just to up the level of instruction in our classrooms. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Questions?
I have a couple. I jotted down real quick on all three of them. So the graduation rates, I see we're pretty centered there in the 80s. Do we have the data on the reasons why we have the dropout numbers, like those 172 students? Do we have any data around that as to why they've dropped out? Is it economics? So like, do we know where our opportunity is that we can go after?
That's one of the goals of that re-engagement coordinator. I don't have it right now. I can definitely dig and follow up with a report with some of that input.
Yeah, I'm just curious why, what are the kids dropping out for? What
Yeah.
are the reasons? So we can,
Attendance, mobility.
yeah.
I mean, I think what we would find, and again, we can follow up and get you, some concrete information, but when students start to become credit deficit early on in their high school experience, it's really hard for them to get caught up and back on track. And so that early intervention with credit deficit's really important. All of our high school principals track D and F grades very meticulously, beginning at ninth grade and continuing all through high school, because what we find it's the students who get so far behind, they feel like it's going to take forever to get caught up, and trying to get them reengaged in summer school or catching up is really the big challenge. I think that's the biggest factor. And you can see the schools look at this disaggregated data too, but you can see by, there are some differences in demographics and program participation, English learners. Alyssa mentioned, migrants. So we also often we're serving students who've maybe come into us with no formal schooling. Right, and now it's how do we help that student? So but we can get you more detailed statistics to back up what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay, and then looking at graduation rates still, all of our high schools seem to be trending in a kind of slow upward mobility, with the exception of one, Phoenix. Have we dove into that school to kind of see why maybe they're trending down the last 4 years? I don't know if it's enrollment or.
So that one's sometimes a hard one with trend lines because of the number of students. One student can make it go up really fast and down really fast. So being a smaller school on that graph with the other schools makes that one hard.
Okay, yeah, I just the last 4 years it's decreased quite a bit. So I'm just curious if we've got a reason or what we can look to entertain that. And then with dual credits, as far as like AP classes go and stuff, how are the kids placed into those classes? Is it kids have gone through and taken all the normal classes and now they need a more rigorous class, or are counselors, talking to students and saying, I think you would do well, in this AP class, you should take it?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think there's some invitations for kids who are going to do well, but it's open to all students. And AP has a really strong culture of let's give it a try. Even if it's hard, we'd rather expose you to some high rigor and get that opportunity in the class. So there's a lot of open enrollment in AP.
I thought this might be a good one for London to respond to, because she is taking AP and has taken AP last year, and you could just talk about how did you get into AP, and how did your friends get into AP maybe?
So I got into AP classes my junior year, and then I was in honors classes my freshman and sophomore year. And I personally just like the environment of AP classes. Like, it was like a lot of kids who like really want to like learn that subject and like worked towards like learning and doing well in class. And then I liked the faster pace of the classes, and it was typically subjects that I enjoyed. Like, I took like a lot of honors science classes and history classes. So
were you able to just register for those classes at registration, or did you have to go through your counselor? Did your counselor have to recommend you for those courses, or?
So I just registered personally, and then I know for math, my math teacher recommended me to do honors math my sophomore year, so that's how I was going to get into it, but then with COVID I didn't. But so typically in math, I feel like they will like refer you to do it more, and then some classes, I know there are a few people in my AP English class who weren't in AP until this year. So
yeah, I think it's a combo.
And when a student takes an AP class, say right now, can they disenroll if it's not a fit for them and they can get into a different regular class? Like, Because I can only imagine as a high school student, right? You're like, to your point, right? You do sports and AP classes and you do this and all this stuff, right? So some students it might be overwhelming for. So if a student's in that situation, that they have a way they can kind of get back down and maybe get back into a regular class where it's not as difficult or as focused.
There are some rules about when you can drop a class.
Right, yeah.
Connected even
Yeah.
to athletics,
Yeah.
right, when we looked at that policy and how things get transcripted. So there's time frames
As long as you're meeting the
associated with
deadlines or
when you
whatever
can
there
do
are.
those things,
Okay.
But yeah.
And always easier to move down a level
Yes.
than to be
Always.
lower and think, oh, I should have taken AP.
Always. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Did you-
Go ahead, yeah, you go first. Yeah.
So one of the things that people may notice when they look at the numbers is students in special education and their lower numbers. And I know why those are, but would you speak to everybody else about why the 4 and 5 year numbers are lower and why our students are spending more time?
Go for it. Okay, so one of the things that we have is, by law, students can be in school until they're 21. And we have a population of students who their plan is specifically for them to be in school until they're 21. We have a program at Southridge High School. It's a transition program for 18 to 21-year-old students with disabilities. And they complete high school and then go into the transition program, and it's more focused on preparing them to be employed, to learn how to use transit, all of those sorts of things. Those students are, it's a state thing, and in the past, we've actually even talked with legislators about potentially, is there a way to get that changed? Because they even though they've completed high school, they don't graduate until maybe 6 years or 7 years. And so they're showing up as non-graduates in the system. So it's always important to know all the nuances and details behind the numbers, because the numbers don't always tell the full story, if that makes sense.
I just wanted people to know that
Yeah.
that number is a fake number, I guess I would say. It's not fake, but it doesn't really
Show how they're
show
doing.
the actual group
Yeah.
numbers.
So I have two quick questions, both are very quick. The first one is about, tracking DNF grades, I mean, obviously I think it's a parent's job first, and I know that I'm searching through Power School, looking at my kids and why do you, but you see you guys are tracking that very, very closely. So what is the process that happens when you see the kid has that D or that F? Then you recognize it, but then what?
So it's really the high school principals and the high school administrators who were doing that level of tracking. And in fact, I was at Kennewick High School earlier today and talking with data with Ron King, who's the principal there, and he was showing me what he does. So he tracks that data, he meets with teachers, he talks with individual teachers about the reasons behind, and they work together as a team to try to
Approach that kid.
exactly,
and, yeah.
intervene and provide
I gotta
the
ask my
right
kid if she's
intervention
being
and support
approached.
for those particular students. And there's all sorts of different kind of programs and interventions and strategies that they're trying to help keep those students on track. Because like I said, once you start to get behind,
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
really hard to catch up. So
So
it's different building by
Yeah.
building, but very similar. And the high school principals also collaborate and talk about their data and what they're doing to help decrease those Ds and Fs.
They're looking,
too.
is it will or skill? Like, is the student turning in homework? Because they're going to refer them to tutoring.
Yeah.
Is that they don't understand the content? Because they're going to get them in with the teacher. So that letter grade's just an invitation into digging deeper because it's a different story with every
Yeah,
kid.
for sure.
They're also focusing, you mentioned classroom instruction and, focusing on how are we continuing to engage students and get them excited about learning and motivated. So there's lots of parts to it.
Yeah.
Not every student's like this one over here. Just motivation just coming out of her. I have a really good idea for legacy, by the way, and I'm really excited to meet with him on Monday. Thank you for setting that up with me, Tracy. So I don't know if you can jump back slides, but for me, it's slide 58. It's the class of 22 4-year graduation rates. It's towards the beginning.
Okay, just tell me when to stop. I don't have numbers
Okay.
on my slides.
It says like, it'll say class of 22 4-year graduation rate. It's a bar.
Okay. Not that one, that's the 5.
No, keep going. Oh. Yeah, no, not that one. This. Let's see here. So it was one more forward. Yeah, this one. So this one jumped out at me because nobody's in the 90s, but there's one group in the 100, right? That's, 11 points, and there's X. So what's X?
So in the data reporting system, it can be male, female, or gender X. And
Yeah, we talked about this before, that by law, students can identify, and we're required to identify them how they would like to be identified, and that's how they're identified in the data system. So what this slide shows is that of the students, it
Of
doesn't
that
show the
group,
number, but of the
100% of them are
number,
graduating.
a number of the number of students, which I do know is a very small
It's a
number.
small
I don't
number.
know what it is off the top of my head.
But that's the
But-
best performing group in our schools by a long ways.
Yes.
And I do think you have, you do have to take into account the numbers.
number.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very, very small number.
Okay.
Thanks for all your work on that,
No,
Alyssa.
We're not done. Don't thank her yet.
Thank
Sorry,
you
Alyssa.
anyway.
Yeah, go
You're
for
not
it.
off the
I'm
hook
ready.
yet.
I'm ready.
Okay. I have two questions for you also. The algebra in middle schools, is there any concern that algebra, I've worked my way through algebra, and then summertime comes and I have to start back over with that drop in? Is there any concern with getting credit for it in middle school? And then you go into high school and you forgot everything you learned in middle school?
Well, yeah, I would say with everything. So we do work closely to make sure what's being taught aligns to the high school. And then this last year, we did a Avid Bridge Algebra Readiness class in June, and the 8th grade teachers and the principals recommended kids who needed a little bit more algebra exposure before starting high school. And they got an elective credit for that. So there was a nice incentive for doing that. And that was held at each of the high schools this summer.
Okay. And how about if a kid get to high school and then it's recognized? Let's say they sign up for Algebra 2 and the teacher recognizes, not quite ready. Is there some remediation that they can go to refresh what they should have learned in middle school?
Oh, yeah, so, and each of the high schools is a little bit different as far as support. For some, it's a little more time during the day, some it's time after school, but absolutely.
And the typical pathway is Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2. So they're typically taking geometry right after Alg 1. Was that your pathway, London? You took Alg 1 and then geometry and then Algebra 2? Which is, I'm sorry, we call it 3/4 year, but it's the second year of algebra. Yeah, sorry. Mhm. So it's interesting that you asked that, because I was asking Mr. King that same question today, just about math pathway, and do students find it difficult to take the first 2 semesters of algebra, then take geometry, and then go, and remember kind of some of those algebra things. But I think, to your point, if we are doing a good job of algebra concepts and standards as they're developmentally appropriate, even all the way to kindergarten, and building that up, then there's a good conceptual understanding of algebra that you're going to hold on to even then.
Get the fundamentals down. That's fair. Okay, and this may be more for Vic, but that 5th year, when a senior is going that 5th, is that accounted for in our budget? I'm sure that's additional cost, right? So do we account for it in the budget?
We do get funding as long as they're enrolled with us, and that's kind of part of the issue with the program I was talking about earlier, because you don't want to not enroll the student. You could unenroll the student and increase your graduation rate, but then you wouldn't get state funding for the student to be able to continue the program for the student. So we do get funding as long as the students are enrolled in our system.
Thank you. Now you can speak.
Thank you again.
Thanks.
Thanks, Alyssa.
All right. I think we get to listen to Tracy again now.
Oh,
Booster
it's
Club.
me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, okay.
Booster Club Corporation.
So this will be a pretty brief report. It's a follow-up to a request from Mr. Mabry on would it be possible, or what are the rules around booster clubs, and can booster clubs, could they join together to benefit multiple schools and so forth. So I put together just a few slides for the board about booster clubs. This first one just highlights the fact, this is from WIA, that booster clubs are really independent businesses with private funds. So it's separate and apart from the school district. But, and boosters can use our facilities following board policy. And there's a lot about IRS accounting and those kinds of things, because it is a separate entity, a separate business from the district. So there's also a difference between booster clubs and ASB. And a booster club is more like a parent-teacher association, for example, where there's private money, it's separate money, it can't be commingled with ASB funds. And school boards have to have policies about how these things work. And of course, we do have board policy about how things work, and that's policy 4600. It's in our series on community relations. And there's a policy on school support organizations that speaks really specifically to this, and starts with the board encourages the formation of parent, student, teacher association or similar school support organizations, such as a booster, to provide opportunity through which parents, teachers, and students may unite their efforts and interest to enhance the school program. So all of this policy, it's multiple pages and there's a procedure that goes with it, but it really speaks to all the rules around school support organizations. And there's nothing in here that would prevent a new school support organization to be formed that could benefit multiple schools, or from existing school support organizations to collaborate together to support existing schools. So I just included all of the policy language here so the board has it. And I think the big takeaway is nothing would prevent that from happening. And all it would require is someone from the community to want to do this, and then to ask all the right questions and get all the right guidance and follow the policy appropriately. And they could establish themselves as an entity that could exist to benefit multiple schools.
May I explain why I asked you to do this? Because not everybody here may be familiar with what we even talking about. So the effort is not a particular school booster. What we've experienced here in the community is that we have inequality in our schools as far as involvement, parent involvement and economic status and what have you. So this effort is to make it so that anyone in any community could contribute to any school within a community. You don't, for example, you wouldn't have to live in the school district of Highlands to support Highlands, or Park to support Park. And my thought was that if the district, not a school, but the district had a booster club, that booster club could look into helping out schools that need a helping hand, no matter where that school is, no matter who the helping hand is coming from. So this booster club is not for a particular school, it's for a district-wide booster.
Mm-hmm. And some school districts have like a schools foundation that is established. Again, it's a separate thing from the district. It's not operated by the district, but where they exist to raise funds, and then, you know, maybe they have a process where schools seek grants from that organization or things like that. So there's lots of possibilities out there for any, a community member who might be interested in that.
Can I ask this might be a little off Booster Club, but it is to do with fundraising. Do we have a policy against fundraising at schools? Like Susie's coming in, student Susie's coming in trying to sell Girl Scout cookies or Krispy Kreme donuts. Like, do we have a policy against that, or is that allowed?
So it's not like an ASB fundraiser that, or you're saying like a
No, but
student
like
coming
if
in
my
to sell
son wanted
stuff?
to take a fundraiser in and see if he could get other teachers and stuff to buy his Krispy Kreme donuts for a football team, is that allowed, or is that against the policy, or?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Not that he's doing that, that's just an example.
Yeah, well, first I'll answer the easy answer, and then I might look to Vic for some help here, because I know that we have policy on student fundraising, and I just have to go back and see what it says. ASB fundraisers are definitely allowed. In fact, I was visiting Fuerza the other day, and I had a student there. I bought some chocolate bars for Highlands because she was selling chocolate bars for Highlands for her sister or something for the Highlands ASB fundraiser. But I'm actually going to have to follow up to see what the rules say about. I don't think students just can come in and like sell things outside of ASB, but I want to verify that before I
I'd just be
answer.
curious if that's allowed or if we have a policy against it or not.
I think it's not, but I'll find out.
I mean, I don't
for
want
sure.
all the kids running around trying to sell their teachers cookies and all sorts of stuff regularly, but I just was curious. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Tracy.
You got it.
So I think we're on to new business. And Vic is going to talk to us about levy amounts.
He is, and Vic and I talked. I'm going to just start us off real briefly with the first couple slides, and then hand it over to Vic. So this is a follow-up to the study session conversation with the board in September, and so just a couple quick slides to recap what that discussion was. We shared that what our goal is. To develop a levy plan moving forward. We want that plan to be unanimously supported by the board, a fiscally responsible plan in the short and the long term. We want to be able to maintain programs and staffing, avoid undesired budget cuts. We all know that that is not a fun place to be in. We want to continue to focus on our strategic goals. We do want to, in our plan does, ensure that we're looking at system efficiencies always. So we did cut budget, as you know, $5 million. And with the levy, plan moving forward and plan to get that levy passed, doesn't automatically mean we're going to add back everything that we cut. We're going to look real carefully at what things should come back and what things are we operating efficiently without. We also talked about wanting to add some safety personnel, and I'll recap that. So that's what this bullet means about making strategic investments to help the system improve. And obviously, we want a plan that is supported by the majority of the voters. So at the study session, we talked about the board's preferred scenario. We went through a couple scenarios, and what we really want to do is look at a same or similar amount, and we've got some updates for you tonight, and a lower rate, and looking at a rate that's declining over the 3-year period. So that was the preferred scenario that the board said move forward with, because that preferred scenario is going to enable us to add the safety funding that we want to add. And that would be adding SROs for all the middle schools. So we'd be adding 3 SROs as a part of this. That is a partnership with the City of Kennewick. City of Kennewick is adding their half of the funding to their biennial budget. And our share of that partnership for adding 3 at the middle schools would be $255,000. We also want to move forward with this plan of funding limited commission safety officers at our elementary schools and at Legacy in Phoenix, because they're the one secondary school who doesn't have an SRO, or wouldn't if we move forward, if all the other middle schools did and our high schools do. And that plan involves recruiting and hiring retired police officers, working with the City of Kennewick to ensure that they're training and kind of coordinated. And that plan for adding those limited commission safety officers is about $1 million. So we've built that into the levy plan. So what we took away from there, just in summary, is in terms of the levy amount, to look at keeping the levy amount at or below what was presented to voters in April of 2022. Look at a plan that allows the rate to decrease each year and ensure that our levy amounts maximize LEA, so we're not leaving any state funding on the table. If you go below the $1.50 per thousand of assessed value, not only would it not work for us budget-wise in the years ahead, but also would impact our ability to collect that additional state funding, so that would not be a wise thing to do. We also looked at a 3-year levy term that would enable us to get back on the same cycle as our capital tech levy. That's the levy that passed in February, and to have a February levy because that's good timing. All data points to good timing for February. And then again, adding that safety personnel that I just talked about. So I'm going to hand it over to Vic now, because since the September study session, we've been meeting and crunching numbers, and Vic actually has some updated amounts to share with you tonight that even are, we think, better than what we shared with you in September.
All right, thanks, Dr. Pierce. So moving on here, just a recap of 22-23. We're using the ESSER money, the fund balance. We have some budget reductions. That's getting us through this year without having significant reductions. 23-24, so we're still going to have to use the ESSER COVID money fund balance to support the operations. Since the failure of the 2022 levy for the 2023 property tax collections results in lost revenue over 2 school years. So for 22-23, we lost 20 million. 23-24, we lost another 14 million. So that's the next budget year. So we have to keep that in mind as we move forward. And then looking at this next slide, some of these things we want to put back. Curriculum adoption budget, it's going to take 2 or 3 years, since we did lose that 2023 property tax revenue. But that is a priority to get back in the budget over the next several years. Dr. Pierce alluded to other items. They're not going to get reinstated right off the bat. They're really dependent more on enrollment and other funding rather than levy funding. So as that enrollment, some of those monies increase, then we can look at bringing some of that back. Now, we're not saying that doesn't have to come back. There are some things there that over time we need to try to get that put back in there. There's some fleet vehicle replacement, things like that were reduced that are going to be on the list to put back, but not right away, depending on some other money. We'll continue to use fund balance as needed for the next 2 or 3 budget years, and that is getting will be brought down a little bit, but we're a little more committed to the ESSER money. Committed towards, okay, we're going to get reimbursed for that money. We're going to put that in our coffers, and then we're going to try to use that even beyond the expiration of ESSER. If we kind of repurpose that money, that'll help us in the next several years too, while still trying to keep that levy amount down to the point where the voters will look at that as being a reasonable ask. And then the state, they'll be approving a biennium budget. Diane alluded to that, and there's quite a bit of money in there. Some of it probably will be limited or tied to various programs and not be as flexible as we like, but there could be some in there that is more flexible, and that will help us out also. So looking here at what we presented about a month ago was over here. And then we went back and looked at those numbers again. So we want to stay at the 23.375 million, which we asked for back in April. And then we kind of worked some numbers back from that, taking the budget reductions, some of those, and then adding back in the security, 1.2 million there. And the math kind of worked out a little more towards 23 million. So that's how that number got there. And then so on. So that lowers these rates a little bit and lowers the levy amount that we would be asking for voters a little bit. And this is significantly less than what we went out for originally, almost a year ago. And like I said, that's due to just being more committed to some things, some ESSER, having some of those reductions that we're trying to do, and continuing with that until there's enough money to reinstate those. So So this is a lot more reasonable, rates going down, reasonable increase, generally close to $1 million increase there, which is really pretty small for a budget of our size. So unless there's questions there, we'll proceed with getting a resolution put together with these amounts. The voters are voting on the amounts. These are just the estimated levy rates. And then timing wise, the next board meeting, we have the resolution. There'd be appointments for and against committee to start that process going. And then we have to file our resolution to the county by December 16th. So any questions there or comments?
Anyone?
No.
No? Hey, could you go one slide back?
Believe it or
Just,
not, no.
Yeah, it's all from me. Just for a second, I want to make sure our student rep gets this thing.
Yeah.
She already got it.
I know, she's faster than I'm picking on her a little bit tonight. Okay, thank you, Vic.
So just confirming, any other feedback or direction from the board? Hearing none, what we're going to do is move forward, get the formal resolutions all drafted up, all that legal documentation, and plan to bring it to you on November 9th, and we would be expecting a
Board approval.
a board approval.
Yes, I'm clear on that, and I'm good.
Just concerned because there was no questions at that
Well,
point.
just double, triple checking.
Tracy, maybe it's the silence is a good thing.
And we've gone through this multiple times too, and this is not, except for the
It's better.
updated
It's even better.
Yeah,
numbers.
it's better
What we saw in
than,
September.
so.
Nothing shockingly new.
No.
Yeah, and we're still, it's still going to be challenging the next several years, but we need to get this passed.
Yep. Thank you, Vic.
Thanks, Vic.
Thank you, Vic. All right, so next on our agenda is next meeting agenda. What is the date of the next one?
November 9th.
It's November 9th. November 9th is our next test, and on the list is the 2023 levy resolution and committee appointment.
Wait, are we going to talk about that? Just kidding.
And legislative priorities will be talked about at our next meeting. All right?
Yep.
Any other business authorized by law? All right, I get to do my favorite thing, adjourn the meeting. That was loud, sorry. I'm not used to this, Amber. I was having